This week, California Governor Gavin Newsom launched a snitch line, asking people to report illegal activity of ICE agents so they can be prosecuted. But it backfired big time on Newsom. Coming up, we'll tell you how. Plus, Newsom facing criticism for giving no attention to the Stockton mass shooting massacre that occurred last week. He didn't even bother to show up to pay his respects. All that and more coming up. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a California state legislator. And Newsom is off traveling the country running for president. He is literally AWOL. We have seen Newsom issue press releases as part of stunts to gain attention. All the while, he's running for president. He's not really seriously governing the state of California. One of the common themes that we see from Newsom is a vicious attack against the brave men and women who serve as federal law enforcement officers. They're out trying to protect us, keep us safe. And in California, that's a pretty hard task, given how pro-criminal Gavin Newsom and other Democrat politicians are, and how crazy our laws are prohibiting and preventing and undermining law enforcement from doing their jobs. This week, Newsom announced that he and the Attorney General, Rob Bonta, who also is under federal criminal investigation, he just can't make this crap up. The top state law enforcement official is himself accused of all sorts of unethical and shady practices, so much so that he's the target or involved in a federal criminal investigation. Anyway, they announced they're launching an online portal, a snitch line, if you will, for Californians to report illegal, unlawful activity by ICE agents and other federal law enforcement personnel. Here is the announcement from the governor's office: a portal, an online portal, to assist members of the public in sharing information with the California Department of Justice regarding potentially unlawful activity by federal agents. This is part of the grand lie, the big lie. Nothing in this portal is going to lead to any criminal indictment or criminal charges against federal agents because, frankly, nobody knows about the portal. But number two, the federal agents are doing nothing wrong. But it is a media stunt, chum in the water to get attention. We're fighting who? Law enforcement. On behalf of whom? People not here legally and people who have criminal records. Gotcha. But of course, Newsom is trying to spin this as he's protecting people from criminals. And the criminals are federal law enforcement agents. How heinously disgusting. How corrosive, how dangerous. That's why many law enforcement agents are being targeted. In this snitch line, perpetuating a big lie that somehow law enforcement at the federal level is doing something bad, which is provably false, comes a week after two National Guards members were brutally attacked in Washington, D.C. He has no shame. He's putting kerosene on a burning fire, fomenting misinformation and fomenting division and hate. So you've got this snitch line. But we've seen similar snitch lines launched by the governor, and they've been completely phony. And I've got the receipts on that. But first, this also resulted in a lot of mocking of Newsom. I'll share my mock tweet with you. First, I asked, is there a portal to report a missing governor who doesn't want to do his job and instead is out of state campaigning for president all the time, asking for a friend and 40 million other Californians? Oh, here's another tweet I put out. More waste of taxpayer funds for a false political narrative. How about we start a portal to report welfare fraud by illegal immigrants? Which portal do you think would get more verified violations of the law? The Newsom portal against federal agents, or the one I'd like against illegal immigrants committing fraud on welfare programs at taxpayer expense? Oh, my friend Bill Asaley, the acting U.S. Attorney for Southern California, has the best epic response. We have a portal too. People can report California state officials engaged in illegal activity at the following link. Absolutely brutal. Good job, Billy. These help desks, these snitch lines, are all about media stunts and a false narrative. You set up a hotline to deal with UFO sightings, or a hotline to deal with Bigfoot touching you inappropriately. And people are like, oh, I can't believe there are so many instances of Bigfoot touching people inappropriately that they have to have a hotline. There must be like dozens of call centers dealing with the absolute massive amount of complaints. No, it's part of perpetuating a big lie that A, there's a Bigfoot, and B, Bigfoot likes to engage in the same behavior that State Senator Scott Wiener likes to engage in. Joking. Not so much. So it's part of the big lie. And a perfect example of this was a $5 million no-bid contract that Newsom laundered to a far left-wing group to run his phony hate crime hotline that literally received 0 criminal cases over 2 years. Newsom, with great fanfare, said, hate crimes are on the rise. That's why I'm creating a statewide hotline where people can call and report the evil hate crimes that they are victimized by. So we actually waited for a little bit of time and then issued public records requests. And I said, how many people called the hotline? Email. Oh, by the way, the calls were nil. Instead, it was people emailed us or went to our website. Now, most of these calls, emails, and website submissions were bagging on the hotline, making fun of the hotline. But here was the total cost broken down with no criminal referrals for $5 million. 1,020 at a cost of $2,352.94 per contact. Those are the 2,118 emails or calls over 12 months, or 5.8 contacts a day that they had to sift through, most of which were prank. $2,300. Here's another one, 680 at a cost of $3,500 per referral. And that's where there was actually a referral given to someone of, oh, that happened to you? Here's some information. Most of it was, my feelings were hurt. Okay, here's a referral to some mental health counselors, a grief pony, comfort Play-Doh. Two at a cost of $2.5 million per dispute were 2 labor law violations allegedly involving a hate crime or discrimination that were actually referred to other government agencies that already have hotlines and already do this stuff. 2 out of $5 million. And 0, of course, for $5 million. 0 hate crimes actually referred for criminal prosecution. But lots of media attention, lots of clicks, lots of coverage by a false narrative driving media, all for the benefit of Gavin Newsom. Now, Newsom is worried about law enforcement at the federal level doing bad things, but what is he actually doing? He is protecting real criminals. He's vehemently going after federal law enforcement, trying to protect us. He is smearing them, disparaging them, while at the same time keeping criminals in this country. This happened close to my district in San Diego. An 11-year-old boy, a Latino boy, killed in a hit and run in Escondido. It's not in L.A., in Escondido, which is San Diego County. New York Post got the location wrong. He was kicked out of the U.S. 4 times, got back into the country, and decided to hunker down here in California because Gavin Newsom likes to protect criminals, and he has a rap sheet. You know, he's got a criminal record. And here you got Kevin Dalton with his information. An illegal immigrant from Mexico runs over and kills an 11-year-old boy in San Diego. Because it's a super sanctuary, ICE detainers are ignored multiple times. ICE detainers were issued against this guy to get him out of the country, that boy would be alive today. But no, Gavin Newsom and Democrats shield criminals. Then, of course, we've got Newsom just deciding he's not going to show up and pay his respects to the victims and their families of the devastating mass shooting in Stockton, where his policies protect gangbangers. And he, put out a tweet talking about gun control. How about we have some gang control? He wants to disarm law-abiding citizens trying to protect themselves from the criminals he's shielding in this country. I mean, the Second Amendment is self-defense, and that's important if the government's not going to do its job, and it will never do its job. And then he just skates out of the state, doesn't bother to show up. Even fellow Democrats are criticizing him. Listen,
I believe the governor, he should have gone down to Stockton. I exchanged messages with the mayor of Stockton, and she told me how horrible this is for her community and the fear of retaliation and what that was going to mean for her and her community. And this is an area in the Central Valley that already feels like they're flyover country. Nobody cares about us. You fly over us. You only come here when you're campaigning. They can't continue to feel like that. And they need to know that they can have a relationship with the governor and the state, that when something significantly tragic like this happens.
I'll tell you what I did when I was mayor. I always showed up. I showed up when a cop was shot. I showed up when families lost loved ones. Actually, when I was a council member, I went to every single homicide in the 2 years that I was a council member in my district. When I was mayor, there were too many.
This is brutal. This is absolutely brutal, as these Democrat candidates running for governor are bashing the hell out of Gavin Newsom and how insensitive he is. He doesn't care about the tragedy in Stockton. He politicizes it, but then continues his junket around the country with no real accountability by the liberal media in this country. They're not exposing his missteps and corruption and failures.
Actually, when I was a council member, I went to every single homicide in the 2 years that I was a council member in my district. When I was mayor, there were too many, but we reduced it to 1950 levels, as I said. But I think it's important to show up. And I'm not criticizing anyone. I don't know where he was at. But I could tell you, for me, you show up.
Why isn't the leader of the state?
I'm not criticizing anyone. I don't know where he was at. I'll tell you where he was at. He's running for president, not doing the job he's supposed to be doing. He's doing an abysmal job of it at that, but running around the country, trying to seek political power for himself. This guy is just disgusting. Look, at Reform California, we are shining a light on Newsom's failures. We're going to stay on top of them like white on rice, but we need your help. So do a few things. Number one, like this video so we can get the word out. Number two, go to the website, reformcalifornia.org. If you're not already signed up to be part of our growing movement statewide to fight, do so by going to the bottom of the website, first name, last name, email, phone, and zip code. Third, please chip in a contribution. We can't do any of this work. We can't support any of the ballot measures that we're running, like voter ID, the Save Prop 13 measure, blocking local and state tax hikes. We can't support good candidates for all sorts of offices. We can't get you our plain English voter guide each election without financial support. We get no big money from big donors. We are a grassroots funded movement. So please chip in a contribution today at reformcalifornia.org. Until next time, I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a California state legislator. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state.